Hello everyone, and welcome to another video of Confronting Chaos, a series of partner videos to Chaos fight footage to outline the enemies and explain why characters are boosted. In this video, I'll be going over the Soul Cannon Raid Event Chaos fight, the first event of the Burst era, so let's get into it. As a raid, this Chaos fight is one wave against the raid boss, the Soul Cannon and 2 launchers. The Soul Cannon is tough to ranged and magic attacks and cannot be launched, but otherwise it has no elemental weaknesses. The launches are similar, except they trade being launchable for being immune to paralysis. The Soul Cannon's recast ability is a group attack with an HP dump that will also cleanse the cannon of all generic debuffs, cleanse the party of all generic buffs, and inflict sap. Every single one of its moves is melee. I'll expand on that later if you don't realize it by the end of the video. The launchers, meanwhile, are very fond of casting Senescent Missile, which inflicts ult, a framed offensive debuff that only gets stronger until it gets removed. Similar to the Soul Cannon, all of the launcher's attacks are physical. As a raid, there are 6 synergy characters. However, I will only quickly go over the main ones that are featured: Squall and Auron. Squall does not yet receive a rework with this banner, but he does get the first LD and burst weapons. His LD has him do Rough Divide, a group attack with splash damage that you're most likely going to cap out on with the boosted stats in this fight. It also grants him a new unique effect that increases his attack and grants him overflow. It can also be used to grant him his solitary lion buff, and the LD passive itself can also let him start with the buff, letting him fight stronger, faster. His burst finisher deals split damage but can overflow to just under 200,000, while the burst field effect boosts HP damage dealt when using splash damage attacks, but only to the side targets. Auron, meanwhile, does get a rework and EX Plus with this event. His rework adds more hits, overflow, and group damage and shave to both of his abilities, as well as giving him a unique buff that raises his attack and max bravery. He applies decently potent max and initial bravery debuffs, as well as a melee resist down debuff. His EX at base deals split damage, delays all targets, and grants him a generic attack up buff. His EX Plus helps him out offensively fairly well, but he does require 3 ingots for the most benefit as a damage dealing unit. Realization gives the EX cast a double cast property, extends the buff and debuff, and grants him an HP plus attack, which is actually pretty good since it hits all enemies and has splash damage. 1 ingot raises his max brave and attack, giving him more bravery to fill and more ability to fill it. 2 ingots gives him a recast speed upgrade, quickening out his rotation to 2 skills between EX casts, as well as giving him starting buffs and starting EX recast gauge. 3 ingots adds 1 hit to each HP dump of the EX cast, but more interestingly, it makes the second HP dump deal total damage to all enemies, which greatly increases its effectiveness. As for the team I chose, here's the breakdown. If you remember when I was talking about the enemies, I mentioned that all of their attacks are physical. As such, Galuf more or less removes all danger from this fight. Once you have his cover and dodge up, the only moves that will be of some danger are the Soul Cannon's recast ability and its Soul Laser attack. Otherwise, Galuf will cover, dodge, and counter every other attack from the enemies for the whole party. Even with Galuf on the team, he can't handle group attacks, so a healer is still needed to bring the party back up from the recast ability's HP damage. As such, Charlotta is here. Not only does she provide good offensive auras and regen, but since Galuf gets in so many counters and HP dumps, her EX HP damage up aura adds just that little bit every single time. Ramza is here to support Galuf via more strength and auras. Since you can't really battery before a counter, the best thing you can do is provide more attack so the counter hits are as strong as possible. Ramza provides regen and battery for all the actual turns the party gets, and his frame debuff cannot be dispelled by the Soul Cannon, adding in that little bit extra offensive power. With that, this Chaos fight should be covered. If you want to see my footage of this fight, I'll link it in the corner and in the description below. If you liked what you saw and want to see future fights, subscribe so they show up as they're made. If you have any suggestions or thoughts, drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.